The Assembly is now in session. Assemblywoman Buchanan notices the absence of a quorum. The Sergeant at Arms will prepare the chamber and bring in the absent members. The clerk will call the roll.
Adams, Amiano, Anderson, Arambula, Bass, Bell, Bill Berryhill, Tom Berryhill, Blakesley, Block, Blumenfield, Bradford, Brownlee, Buchanan, Caballero, Calderon, Carter, Chesborough, Conway, Cook, Cotto, Davis, De La Torre, De Leon, DeVore, Ing, Evans, Fior, Fletcher, Fong, Fuentes, Fuller, Forotani, Gaines, Galgiani, Garrick, Gatto, Gilmore, Hagman, Hall, Harkey, Hayashi, Hernandez, Hill, Huber, Huffman, Jeffries, Jones, Knight, Liu, Logue, Lowenthal, Ma, Mendoza, Miller, Monning, Nava, Nestande, Nilo, Nilsson, Norby, V. Manuel Perez, Portantino, Ruskin, Solis, Saldana, Silva, Skinner, Smythe, Solorio, Strickland, Swanson, Torlixon, Torres, Tarico, Tran, Valians, Yamada, Mr. Speaker.
Members, if you could come down to the floor, we do have a LGBT Pride Month celebration. Our guests are here in the chambers, and we would like to get session started. So members, if you could come down to the floor as soon as possible, it'd be appreciated. Thank you. Members, a quorum is present. We ask our guests and visitors in the rear of the chamber and in the gallery to please stand for the prayer. We ask our guest chaplain, Reverend Terry Miller, representing Valley Ministries Metropolitan Community Church, to offer the day's prayer.
Good morning. The prophet Isaiah says, God gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, increase strength. Join me as we pray together. Gracious God, we come humbly before you today, asking for your wisdom and for your understanding. I pray for this assembly to use the insight of the divine for direction in helping the weak, the less fortunate, those who do not have equal rights, and the many issues that you address. I pray for that wisdom of the ages and the ages to come, that this would be present in every decision and every vote. And I especially pray that the members of this great body would remember that you have been placed in this position to help others, even when difficult times are here. I believe that there is enough, and I would ask for God's grace to do the difficult work that must be done with that in mind. May each one of us remember the great cloud of witnesses who have gone before us to make a way where there seems to be none. Teach us, Great Spirit, not to just whisper about justice, hope, insight, and vision, but guide us to the mountaintops of courage and through the valley of healing. Amen.
We ask our guests and visitors to remain standing and join us in the flag salute. We ask Assembly Member Amiano to lead us in the pledge. Mr. Amiano. You may be seated. Reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Thursday, June 10, 2010. Assembly met and I met Honorable Fiona Moss, Speaker Pro Tem of the Assembly, Presiding Chief Clerk Dotson Wilson at the desk, Assistant Clerk Timothy Moore. The reading.
Mr. Calderon moves. Mr. Hagman seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentations of petitions. There are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the governor. There are none. Messages from the Senate. There are none. Motions and resolutions. The absences for the day will be deemed read and printed in the journal. Mr. Calderon, you are recognized.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I request unanimous consent for Assembly Members Skinner, Amiano, and Amiano to have guests and photographers on the floor, and for guests and photographers at the rostrum for observance of Pride Month.
Without objection.
Also, I request unanimous consent for Assembly Members Hayashi and Portantino to have guests at their desks and photographers on the floor.
Without objection.
Also, request unanimous consent to allow Assembly Member Jim Bell and Assembly Member Logue to speak on Adjourn in Memory today.
Without objection.
For committee-to-committee referrals pursuant to Assembly Rule 96, SB 1334 by Ms. Wolk from Water Parks and Wildlife Committee to the Natural Resources Committee, then back to the Water Parks and Wildlife Committee.
Without objection.
SB 653 by Mr. Correa from Judiciary Committee to the Rules Committee.
Without objection.
SB 1482, Senate Government Organization Bill, Committee Bill, from the Government Organization Committee to the Rules Committee.
Without objection.
And SB 1098 by Ms. Corbett from Judiciary Committee to the Arts, Entertainment, Sports, Tourism, and Internet Media Committee, and then back to Judiciary Committee.
Without objection.
And then also, and finally, I request unanimous consent to waive the final notice requirements to allow the Education Committee to hear SB 675 by Mr. Steinberg on Wednesday, June 16, 2010, in room 4202 at 12:30.
Without objection. Mr. Calderon.
Speaker, also request unanimous consent to take up a bill without reference of file, with reference to file pursuant to Joint Rule 77, and waive the one-day waiting period to allow Mr. Knight to take up AB 2561 for concurrence and Senate amendments when it arrives.
Without objection. Members, we are waiting for a few members to come down to escort our awardees: Adams, Bell, Blumenfield, Brownlee, Block, Koto, Eng, Fong, Fior, DeLeon, Delatorre, Jones, Lowenthal, Skinner, Salas, Swanson, Torlakson, and Yamada. If you are not on the floor, if you could make haste so that we could start the ceremony. We're going to take up business on the daily file. Second reading, the clerk will read.
Assembly concur in Resolution 164 with amendments.
All bills will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Members, if we can direct our attention to the back of the chamber, Ms. Skinner would like to welcome a few students. Ms. Skinner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. Natalie and Haley Collins were both chosen as finalists in a countywide contest with elementary school children to see who could make the best poster explaining and promoting the 2010 census. Hallie and Natalie were the only two finalists from West Contra Costa County. I'm very honored to have them with me today. They did two incredible posters which really graphically, without words, explain what the census means. And let me briefly say what Natalie, who's in kindergarten and age 6, she said, "I made all my people different colors because everyone is different. They are holding hands because they all care for each other. They are standing across the U.S. flag to be counted in the census." And Haley Collins, who's age 9 and in 3rd grade, said, "The hand on the American flag shows that everyone in the United States counts. There are different color hands to show there are all different people in the United States." Thank you, Natalie and Hallie Collins.
Members, without objection, we will now move to the resolution relative to LGBT Pride Month, file item 14, H.R. 30, by Amiano and Speaker John Perez, by Mr. Amiano. Clerk will read.
House Resolution 30 by Assemblymember Amiano and others relative to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Pride Month.
Mr. Amiano, you may open on the measure.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Speaker, and members, I rise to present House Resolution 30, which declares June as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. This year, we commemorate the 40th anniversary of Pride celebrations in California. Exactly 1 year after the Stonewall riots, the LGBT community began to celebrate the anniversary of this momentous event, which brought widespread attention to anti-gay laws and government policies. On June 28, 1970, Los Angeles and San Francisco decided to commemorate the anniversary in a very unique way. Instead of a large-scale protest, they threw a celebration. Although the LGBT community has few of the liberties we now enjoy today, the community found cause for a parade in Los Angeles. The idea of celebrating LGBT pride with a parade and a festival caught on. Today, LGBT pride celebrations are hosted in communities big and small. California hosts many of these celebrations, but many more are celebrated in cities worldwide. One of the largest of these is hosted in my home city. San Francisco Pride is now the second largest parade held in the state, second only to the Parade of Roses on New Year's Day. Each year, when the LGBT community celebrates Pride, we are celebrating all of the strides the community has made. 40 years ago, our nation had never elected an openly gay person to public office. Today, many towns and cities have elected openly gay leaders. Our own House has recently elected the first openly gay speaker in the nation. 40 years ago, a person could be arrested for simply identifying as being gay. I know that. I was there. Today, people who openly identify as LGBT participate in every part of our society. Great achievements have been made by LGBT people in all areas of society, including the armed forces, arts and entertainment, business, community service, philanthropy, and athletics. Even now, as our community struggles for the right to serve in the armed forces or to get a marriage certificate, we show pride in how far our community has come. Speaker and members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote in proclaiming June 2010 as LGBT Pride Month.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I rise in support of this resolution. Last year, we were privileged to celebrate Pride Month coinciding with the 40th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which thrust the LGBT struggle for equality into the consciousness of mainstream America. This year is the 40th anniversary of the first LGBT Pride celebrations in Los Angeles and San Francisco. For the first time, gay men and women marched proudly, openly, without fear or shame. For the first time, we felt empowered not only to live our lives, but to live our lives openly with dignity and pride. In the 40 years since, Pride Month has come to mean many things for many people. For some, Pride represents the celebrations of the gains our community has made and a chance to honor the men and women who made those gains possible. For others, Pride represents the hope for a brighter future, especially for those still trapped in a closet and fearful of a hostile and angry world. To them, Pride is a symbol that they are not alone, that there's a broader community that loves, supports, and encourages them. Pride Month is about creating and strengthening a sense of community and family. Every time I go to a Pride parade, I'm always deeply heartened to see the faces of mothers and fathers standing in solidarity with their gay children, knowing that those children are loved and supported by their parents. And every time I march in a parade, I see faces of men and women who were rejected by their families. But those faces aren't sad or lost. They are hopeful and joyful because for even just a day, they have the opportunity to celebrate who they are with a broader family and a broader community of countless men and women, some of whom they don't even know. Today, we proclaim LGBT Pride Month in California as a testament to those who came before us and to those who stand with us now, and for the day in the future when LGBT people are fully accepted and valued by our society. We know that day is coming. Despite recent setbacks, we know that in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. Whatever the setbacks, We know that we will continue marching proudly down the road of history. We know it won't be easy, but we also know that anything worth having is worth fighting for. Members, I'm proud to rise in support of this resolution. On behalf of the LGBT members of our California family, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Ms. Skinner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. I am also very proud to rise in honor of the Pride celebration. While our legislative lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender caucus membership over time may have been small and may be small as we see, it represents a very large segment of our population because it represents the friends, the family, and the actual LGBT members. My husband and I, when we were married, our witnesses was my daughter and her partner, who cannot, due to our voters' action, have their commitment recognized legally in the way that my husband's and mine. And that makes me very, very sad because I love my daughter, I love her partner, Sinead, and I want them to have the same rights that I have. And so I stand today with great honor that our Assembly and our Senate would celebrate days like this, that we have a Pride Month, and I know that we will all work to extend such rights and to not deny the equality to any people throughout our state for any reason. Thank you.
Mr. Swanson.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First of all, let me commend the authors for the resolution. I rise in support of H.R. 30. I commend the authors for bringing this resolution forward to get us to engage in a celebration of life, citizenship, and accomplishment. And so I thank all of you and encourage you to vote aye on this wonderful, wonderful resolution.
Mr. Amiano, would you like to close?
Yes, I respectfully urge an aye vote, and I'd like to make the first vote for co-authors, Madam Chair, if I may.
Mr. Amiano is asking for the first roll call to be for co-authors on H.R. 30. The clerk will open the roll. Members, this is for co-authors. Clerk will note that there are 36 co-authors. Our final roll call will be on this bill. We will take a roll call vote on this item. All those vote who desire to vote. Oh, clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 41, noes 0. Measure passes. The resolution is adopted. Members, without objection, we will now move to the Assembly observance of Pride Month celebration. We will now hear opening remarks from Mr. Amiano.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Today we celebrate lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered Pride Month in California. The reason our community celebrates Pride each year has always remained the same: to educate the world, commemorate our heritage, celebrate our culture, and to liberate our people. Today's floor ceremony is no different. This is the third time we've hosted what is now an annual event to honor the contributions of the LGBT Californians and what they have made in contributions to our society. The purpose of this event has always been to highlight the contributions that queer people have made and continue to make in our communities. The LGBT Legislative Caucus has selected 10 people who have made exceptional achievements that have improved our society forever. The LGBT community has a presence in every town in this state, as well as every racial, religious, ethnic, and socioeconomic background. Our honorees today are representative of the diverse backgrounds of our community. Our honorees come from rural Central Valley communities and from large urban cities. We have with us an octogenarian and a teenager. We will honor people who are professors, students, philanthropists, business owners, activists, and writers. In a few moments, you will meet our honorees. I think you'll agree that their accomplishments are remarkable. More importantly, I want you to feel pride, not just in the LGBT community, but in California. Today's floor ceremony should draw attention not to just what these people have done, which reflects upon the heritage and history of the LGBT community. It should show what these Californians have done, which reflects upon their heritage and history of California. Please join me, Speaker Perez, Senators Kehoe and Leno, in celebrating LGBT Transgender Pride today. Thank you very, very much for your attention.
Members, I'm appointing a special committee on escort to bring our special guest onto the floor for a presentation. Members, please retire to the rear of the chamber at the appropriate time to escort your honorees. Assembly members Adam, Bell, Chesbro, Evans, Block, Cotto, Eng, Fong, Fior, Jones, Lowenthal, Skinner, Salas, Swanson, Torlakson, and Yamada. Aaron Alvarado is being recognized for his work as an LGBT youth activist. He will be escorted by Assembly members Evans and Adams. Clerk will read.
Aaron Alvarado is being honored for his courage, perseverance, and work as a catalyst for change in his community. He's a recent alumnus at Danumba High School, where he served as a class officer and the student representative to the school board. While at Danumba High School, he and a friend founded the school's first gay-straight alliance to provide a voice for LGBT and questioning students and their allies. He has served for the past 2 years on the statewide advisory council on the Gay-Straight Alliance Network. In his hometown, he recently convinced the local school board to remove all the homophobic curriculum from health courses to improve the well-being of future students. He will be attending UC Davis in the fall.
Welcome, Aaron Alvarado. Mr. William Beck is being recognized for his work in philanthropy. He will be escorted by Assembly members Salas and Block. Clerk will read.
Dr. William Beck is being honored for his lifelong commitment to the LGBT community. He has spent nearly 3 decades building an LGBT community infrastructure that has raised millions of dollars for people living with HIV/AIDS and other social services. For 29 years, he has served on the board of the AIDS Assistance Fund. He is founder of the San Diego Human Dignity Foundation, an organization that supports planned giving as well as empowers LGBT donors through a perpetual endowment to the fund the LGBT community's unmet needs. By December 2010, along with their funding partners, the foundation will have granted $2 million in gifts to worthy nonprofit organizations. Dr. Beck has served on the Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund Board, the American Civil Liberty Union's Board of Directors, the Greater San Diego Business Association Board, and others. Bill and his life partner of almost 34 years, David Husky, were married in 2008.
Welcome, Dr. William Block. William Beck. Cecilia Chung is being recognized for her work in transgender advocacy. She will be escorted by Assembly members Eng and Bell. Clerk will read.
Cecilia Chung is being honored for her advocacy for the transgender community, as well as her efforts to promote services for people living with HIV/AIDS. She is the former deputy director of the Transgender Law Center, is an immigrant from Hong Kong, and a San Francisco resident since 1985. Cecilia has served on several boards and commissions in the Bay Area to promote inclusion, including the San Francisco LGBT Pride Celebration Executive Board, where she was the first Asian and first transgender woman elected president of the board.
Welcome, Cecilia Chung. David Cruz is being recognized for his work in law. He will be escorted by Assembly members DeLeon and Chesbrough. Clerk will read.
Professor David Cruz is being honored for his work advocating for the LGBT community through the judicial system. He is a constitutional law expert focusing on civil rights and equality issues, including equal marriage rights for same-sex couples. He specializes in discrimination law and the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered persons. Before joining the USC school faculty in 1996, Professor Cruz was a Bristol Fellow in the Office of the Solicitor General in Washington, D.C. He also clerked for the Honorable Edward R. Becker, Circuit Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. He is the past chair of the American Association of Law Schools section on sexual orientation and gender identity issues and president of the International Lesbian and Gay Law Association.
Welcome, David Cruz. Phyllis Lyon and the late Del Martin are being recognized for lifetime achievement. Mrs. Lyon will be escorted by Assembly members Cotto and Blumenfield. Clerk will read.
Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon are being honored for their lifetime of work for the LGBT equality. The two met in 1950 and were partners from 1952 until Del Martin's death in 2008. They founded the Daughters of Bilitis in San Francisco in 1955, which became the first social and political organization for lesbians in the United States. They were the first lesbian couple to join the National Organization for Homosexual to persuade ministers to accept gay people into their churches and use their influence to decriminalize homosexuality in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Both served on the White House Conference on Aging in 1995. They were the first same-sex couple married in San Francisco on February 12, 2004, which later was declared invalid. They were again the first same-sex couple married in San Francisco when they were legally married on June 16, 2008.
Welcome, Phyllis Lyon. Armistead Mopon is being recognized for his work in literature. He will be escorted by Assembly members Skinner and Torlakson. Clerk will read.
Armistead Maupin is being honored for his most famous work, Tales of the City. The first portion of this series of novels was initially published as a newspaper serial and later reworked into a series of books, three television miniseries, and now a stage musical of the same name. These novels were revolutionary in the way they were some of the first mainstream fiction in American society to portray the lives of LGBT people as main characters in a positive light. Countless people have read, loved, and been influenced by these novels.
Welcome Armistead Mopon. Tina Reynolds is being recognized for her work in business and social justice. She will be escorted by Assembly Members Jones and Lowenthal. Clerk will read.
Tina Reynolds is being honored for her extraordinary inability to stand by and watch even one person be treated less than equal. She has been a tireless activist for social equality and change during a time when these words were still largely foreign in mainstream America. Tina and her design firm Uptown Studios has donated thousands of hours to the fight for recognition and rights for people living with HIV and AIDS, equal rights for the LGBT community, marriage equality, and civil and equal rights for our homeless neighbors. Immediately after the passage of Proposition 8, during a time of unprecedented fear and despair for LGBT people, Tina founded Equality Action Now, a grassroots activist organization drawn from the queer community and straight allies of all ages and walks of life to bring people together in peaceful protest of inequality.
Welcome Tina Reynolds. Jewel Faze Williams is being recognized for her work in healthcare advocacy. She will be escorted by Assembly Members Swanson and Yamada. Clerk will read.
Jewel Faze Williams is being honored for decades-long advocacy for healthcare within the LGBT community. The founder of the clubs Jewel's Catch One in Los Angeles, which began as a black, gay, and lesbian disco. Jewel saw the toll HIV was taking on gay patrons in the 1980s and partnered with other activists to launch the Minority AIDS Project in 1985. By 1989, she opened the first residential home for women and children living with AIDS in the country. Jewel's Catch One now raises money for the Village Health Foundation, a nonprofit clinic that provides free and low-cost therapy, acupuncture, and other holistic healthcare treatments. Jewel Faze Williams, who founded the Village Health Foundation, now serves as its executive director.
Welcome Jewel Faze Williams. San Francisco Pride and Christopher Street West are being recognized because of the 40th anniversary of Pride celebrations. They are represented by Michaela Connell and Rodney Scott. They will be escorted by Assembly Members Fong and Fuhr. Clerk will read.
Beginning in 1970 and each year since, the LGBT community has commemorated the Stonewall riots. Although California now hosts dozens of LGBT Pride celebrations each year, the oldest two celebrations on the West Coast were founded on June 28, 1970, exactly 1 year after the riots, in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Year after year, the LGBT community organizes these events with a common purpose: to educate the world, commemorate their heritage, celebrate their culture, and liberate their people. Located in West Hollywood, California, Christopher Street West is named after New York City's famed Christopher Street, where the Stonewall riots occurred in 1969. The Pride Parade was the only street-closing gay pride parade held in 1970, something emulated by other parades the following year. The San Francisco Pride is going to become the largest parade of any sort in Northern California and the second largest parade in all of California after the Rose Parade. The California flag, the rainbow flag identified with the gay community, was originally created by Gilbert Baker for the 1978 San Francisco Pride Parade. Both Pride events annually raise money to support local LGBT organizations in their respective communities, as well as advocate for human rights and promote acceptance of LGBT people.
Welcome San Francisco Pride and Christopher Street West representatives. We now have a special guest for a musical performance. Garen Benfield is an openly gay musician living in San Francisco. He has gained attention and developed a strong following because of his unique sound, which has been described as freestyle acoustic rock. His music is a blend of moody, guitar-driven rock and polyrhythmic groove, all run through the filter of a very serious singer-songwriter. Improvisation is at the center of a Garen Benfield concert experience. Mr. Benfield will play a tribute to Matthew Shepard. Mr. Benfield.
Can't get to the other side. What do you expect of me? I learned to swim by being thrown in, barely old enough to know to cry. Now I'm too old to hide among the vines that fall upon the window panes. And I'm still wrong to spend half the time I do bothering to explain. This world that can't resist a smarter bomb or a faster plane, but that's the game. Are you with me? Are you with me so far along? Are you with me so far? Can you lift me? Lift me up in your arms. Lift me when I'm not strong. River, it's deep and sure. It can't bring me back home no more. I wouldn't be recognized. I learned to fly by swallowing sky. I caught a lazy ride to the western shore. Now I'm too old to lie beneath the pines that grow from the shifting sands. And I'm still wrong to spend half the time I do wanting to understand. This world that can't resist a chance to destroy its fellow man. Is that the plan? Are you with me? Are you with me so far along? Are you with me so far? Can you lift me? Lift me up in your arms. with me when I'm not strong.
We'd like to thank all the participants in the ceremony this morning. At the end of this ceremony, please join the LGBT caucus in welcoming our guests for a special reception in their honor in the Willie Brown Conference Room that will begin shortly. This concludes our ceremony.
Members, we will proceed with some business on the daily file. We have a few items that will be immediately before us. And then we are waiting for an item to come over on concurrence from the Senate, AB 2651. So we may have a little brief pause between the next few items and AB 2651, but we'll get to that as quickly as it comes to us from the Senate. Ms. Ma. Clerk will read. File item 13, ACR 151. The clerk will read.
Assembly concurrent Resolution 151 by Assemblymember Ma relative to in-home supportive services.
Ms. Ma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. ACR 151 recognizes and supports the maintenance and preservation of home care and personal services to seniors and people with disabilities through the In-Home Support Services Program. The IHSS program was signed into law by Governor Reagan in 1973 to avoid unnecessary institutionalization and allow IHSS consumers to live independently in the community at a lower cost than institutional care. Due to the state's budget crisis, the governor is proposing in his May revise cost containment measures of $637.1 million in the current year and $750 million in 2011 through 2012. Cost containment measures should be explored, but not at the expense of the IHSS services and jobs. Eliminating home care services and jobs would have a negative impact on the state's economy. IHSS is a budget solution. California cannot afford the cost that would be associated with undermining this critical program. I'd like to open the first roll call for co-authors.
Seeing no other individuals seeking recognition, the first roll call is for co-authors. Roll call is for co-authors. Open the roll. We have 43 co-authors. Close the roll. We will now proceed to a voice vote on the measure in chief. All in favor say aye. All opposed nay. The resolution carries. File item 15, AB 1887 by Mr. Valines. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1887 by Assembly Member Vines, an act relating to health care coverage, making appropriation therefore, and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Valines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 1887 is simply the administration of the high-risk pool. As in the federal government's plan that's just been passed by law, this will implement the high-risk pool for California, allow us to draw down federal funds so that we can use those over the next 3 to 4 years. When the federal funds go away, program will not have any money for it. I believe this is a good way for California to finally get to where we should have been a long time ago, which is taking care of those people that have pre-existing conditions. I believe as a country and as a state, had we done this a long time ago, we'd be having a different debate in health care. So I'm proud to be carrying the bill. Mr. Monning is the co-author. It's gone through committees with very positive bipartisan support. And I hope that we can take a stand today that says for those children all the way to seniors and working people in between who have lost a job and something's come up that can't get insurance. These are the only people that can't get insurance that we would take care of. So I'd ask your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Valines. Mr. Monning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise in support as a co-author. I want to thank the author for his leadership in positioning California, as this bill will do, to bridge the gap for those with pre-existing conditions. As you know, under the President's health reform in 2014, there will be a removal of any exclusion for pre-existing conditions. There's a gap of 4 years, and there are families and individuals right now who are dependent on the high-risk pool. This does require a 2/3 vote for urgency purposes. California, to be eligible to continue to implement this program, must position this before the end of the month. I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Monning. Mr. Valines, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just close in 2 quick things. Number one, obviously, I think last week's election went better for more than most of you and not me. That's a side issue. Secondly, I would just say that I believe this is something we can all agree on. This is about people that can't get health care, and it's important for us to take care of it in a way that makes sense with dollars that exist to take care of Californians. So I ask your aye vote.
There's an urgency on this matter. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 60, no 19, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 60, no 0 on the measure. Measure passes. Under motions and resolutions, Mr. Portantino.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It is my great honor to introduce my daughter, Sophia, who is going to spend a couple days with me today. She just finished her freshman year at UCSB, where I think she had a lot of fun in our wonderful public university at the beach and hopefully went to class. So thank you for letting me have her on the floor today, Mr. Speaker. I'd like you to meet my daughter, Sophia Portantino.
Mr. Calderon.
Yes, Matt. Under motions, resolutions, Mr. Speaker, with respect to the Knight bill, which we are waiting for, I had requested unanimous consent to waive the one-day waiting period to allow Mr. Knight to take this bill up without reference to file. I had indicated that the bill number was 2561. I want to correct that. The bill is 2651.
Thank you for the correction. Seeing no objection, we will continue with the previous request for unanimous consent. Continuing under motions and resolutions, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson, under motions and resolutions.
I was arising to ask for permission for my son to join me at my desk.
Without objection, would you care to introduce your son?
Yes, I would. This is my son, Michael. He's now entering the 8th grade, and he's up here this week with me. And so come by, and I'll be happy to introduce you. He'd love to meet you. Thank you.
Ms. Hayashi, do you have a guest in the chambers? Would you care to introduce your guest in the chambers?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I have my nephew with me. He's going to be 16 years old. He's sophomore in high school. His name is Nick Omiya. He's represented by Assemblymember Jeff Miller and Senator Bob Huff.
Welcome. For our guests, we don't usually afford ourselves the opportunity to introduce our guests, but given that we're waiting for a matter to come over from the Senate, we thought we'd afford all the members the opportunity to introduce their guests. We will be moving now. We'll be moving now to adjourn in memories. Mr. Bell.
Mr. Speaker, members, I would like to adjourn in memory of Abby Sobrato. Abby was born on June 14th, 1960 in San Jose at O'Connor Hospital. She was the 4th generation of a Santa Clara Valley resident and daughter of Ross Dorsa and Mary Dorsa. She attended St. Mary's Catholic School in Los Gatos and was a well-respected member of this church. One of Abby's biggest passions was the Walden West Foundation. This was an organization dedicated to teaching children about science and the environment. And Abby was a president for much of her 15-year involvement with the foundation and led the fundraising efforts for a new building, including a new science lab. Abby and her husband, John, personally donated more than $1 million to this foundation. Abby also co-founded the Princess Project of Silicon Valley, a charitable mission providing from prom dresses and accessories for girls who could not afford it. In 2008, on behalf of the Sobrato Family Foundation, which is one of the largest foundations in California, Abby and her husband accepted Philanthropist of the Year from United Way. On Thursday, May 27th, she lost her 8-month battle with cancer. She fought with the same tenacity and faith she relied on in her charitable works. And I would like to adjourn in memory of Abby Sobrato. Abby will be forever missed by her husband, John, and their 2 sons, John and Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Fong.
Also want to rise to say a few words in honor of Abby Sobrato because her philanthropy had an enormous impact on my district as well. Abby's loss will be felt throughout the Silicon Valley region. She was an amazing individual whose contributions benefited so many. Everything she did with all her heart. We will miss her deeply.
Thank you, Mr. Fong. Members, go ahead, Mr. Bell.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Speaker, I ask that we adjourn today also in memory of Charlie Wiedemeyer. Charlie Wiedemeyer, a Northern California high school football coach who inspired athletes and others with his long-term battle against Lou Gehrig's disease, died last Thursday. He was 64 years old. His wife, Lucy, said he passed away at a San Jose hospital after developing pneumonia following surgery. He was surrounded by family and friends. Charlie grew up in Hawaii, where he earned 9 varsity letters in high school and then a football scholarship to Michigan State, then spots in the East-West Shrine Classic and the Hula Bowl. After marrying Lucy, his high school sweetheart, the couple moved to Northern California, where Wiedemeyer took a job as teacher and football coach at Los Gatos High School. While working at the school, Wiedemeyer was diagnosed at age 30 with ALS. At the time, according to family members, he was given 1 to 3 years to live. When the disease started taking its toll, Wiedemeyer worked out an arrangement with the school where he coached the team from a golf cart and relayed playing calls through Lucy to the field. Now, here's a quote. In the beginning, we did not see anything positive about it, but we renewed our faith in God and realized that we are a tool that can be used to help other people, Lucy said in a 2005 interview with the Honolulu Advisor. I think Charlie realized what an awesome responsibility he has been given, that there is a plan and purpose for everything. Despite the disease, Wiedemeyer was still able to lead Los Gatos' football team to 7 league championships, posting a 78-win, 8-loss, and 1-tie record. His inspirational story has been chronicled in the PBS documentary One More Season, the CBS movie Quiet Victory, the Charlie Wiedemeyer story, and a book his wife Lucy wrote with him, Charlie's Victory. Pain and suffering are inevitable, and we all experience it, but misery is an option, Wiedemeyer said in 2005. We do get to make that choice.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Members, we are still waiting on AB 2651 to make its way over from the Senate. During the period of time while we're waiting, you are free to stay anywhere within the chambers, including the Members' Lounge and the Willie Brown Conference Room, where we're having a reception for our honorees today. We will not be allowing people to go back to their office because it is our intent to take up AB 2651 as soon as it makes its way back from the Senate.
Mr. Valines?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just stand to ask immediate transmittal for AB 1887 that just passed affirmatively in our House to the Senate, please.
Without objection. Members, the bill is back from the Senate. We will be taking up this last item on the daily file in about 3 minutes. Okay, members, we are going to take up concurrence item 4, ACR 106 by Ms. Caballero first before Mr. Knight's bill. Clerk will read.
Assembly concurrent resolution 106 by Assemblymember Caballero relative to Cal Fire firefighter Matt Will Memorial Highway.
Ms. Caballero.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. ACR 106 would designate a portion of State Highway Route 156 from State Highway Route 25 to Route 101 as the Matt Will Memorial Highway. Heavy fire equipment operator Matt Will gave his life in order to save another heavy fire operator from sliding down a drainage ditch. While attempting to clear debris and create a fire line, one dozer was immobilized due to topography and loose soil. In order to move the incapacitated dozer, Matt Will attempted to construct a bench, and in doing so, slid and rolled 154 feet from the ditch. HFEO Matt Will exemplified the professionalism, bravery, and dedication to his fellow brothers and sisters and to the state in the performance of his duties, even at the cost of his own life. Matt Will is survived by his high school sweetheart and 2 children, his son Tristan, 12, and daughter Elise, 10. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on ACR 106.
Ms. Caballero, would you like co-authors?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Oh, sorry, it's concurrent. Sorry, no co-authors. This item is fiscal, members, so it requires a roll call vote. Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 54, no 0. Measure passes. Senate amendments are concurred. Okay, members, AB 2651 is back from the Senate. Permission was already granted to take this bill up without reference to file. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2651 by Assemblymember Knight, an act relating to veterans and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members, for your patience. AB 2651 is a great bill. It's going to help vets and save a lot of money, and you've already voted for it. I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Aye 66, no 0 on the urgency. Aye 66, no 0 on the measure. Measure passes. Senate amendments are concurred in. Mr. Knight requests immediate transmittal to the governor. Mr. Torlakson, for what purpose do you rise?
For a brief introduction, if I may, Madam Chair.
Without objection.
Thank you. I have with us today Taylor Booker, who is a student at UC Riverside, and she saved someone's life by someone accidentally calling her cell phone, and it was a 911 kind of a call. She relayed it to a 911 center and saved a woman in Richmond, California, also in my district, who was in severe distress and needed that help. And I just want to introduce Taylor Booker and her family. Taylor, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you for that smart and quick action. Thank you very much. Saving a life. Thank you.
This concludes the business on the daily file in the regular session. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. The session schedule is as follows. Tuesday, June 15th, check-in session. Wednesday, June 16th, check-in session. Thursday, June 17th, floor session at 9 a.m. Friday, June 18th, no floor session, no check-in session. The Transportation Committee will be meeting upon adjournment in room 4202. I am ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves. Mr. Hagman seconds that this House stands adjourned until Thursday, June 17th at 9 a.m. Quorum call is lifted.